السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد فقولوا معي اللهم إني أسألك علما نافعا ورزقا طيبا وعملا متقبلا. اللهم بك أمسينا وبك أصبحنا وبك نحيا وبك نموت وإليك المصير. رضيت بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا بمحمد صلى الله عليه وسلم نبيا ورسولا. أهلا وسهلا ومرحبا في الدرس الأخير من هذه السلسلة. إن شاء الله سنقوم بدراسة أوزان الفعل في هذا الدرس. هل أنتم مستعدون؟ هل أنتم مستعدون لأوزان الفعل؟ Are you ready for the verb form? Right. Rupon, do you want to have a word before we begin?
Yes, please. You might as well pause and then record. I don't.
إن شاء الله. الآن سأشارككم شاشتي.
Ustad, have you repressed record?
I have, yes. Here we are. So we're going to do chapter 5, verb forms. Here we go. Bismillah. All right. Get ready for a verb form. All right. So we're going to do form 1. Quickly recap the form 1 verbs. So we have the perfect. Can you all see my screen? No. Is it big enough? Is it big enough? Is it all visible? Maybe that's better. There we are. So we have kataba yaktubu. Now in form 1, as we said, there's different voweling in the imperfect, and we did 6 different versions of the vowel in the perfect and the imperfect. We had kataba yaktubu, jalasa yajlisu, qara'a yaqra'u, fahima yafhamu, kabura yakburu, hasiba yahsibu. Those 6. Okay. Here I've just given one example, kataba yaktubu, and then we have the ismul fa'il, katibun. Then we have the passive, kutiba yuktabu, fahuwa maktubun, It's the ismul maf'uli, the passive participle. Then we've got the verbal noun, and then we have uktub, right? La taktub, don't write. Right, let me see if I can get my, what's it called? Spotlight. That spotlight. There we are. Yeah, so that will help you see what I'm doing. So we have la uktub, right? La taktub, don't write. Form 2, allama, you double the middle letter. Allama yu'allimu, fahuwa mu'allimun, etc. I'm not going to spend a long time on this because we did this all last week. So we're going to go down to the next, so that's form 10, and then we're going to do double verbs. So we're going to move on to double verbs today. So here we have radda. Now, hold on, I don't want to do this anymore. Hold on. If I get rid of this spotlight, somebody's asking a question. Anybody know how I get rid of this spotlight? Put a mouse. There we are. Okay, so here we have radda. Now radda is rada. Rada da. So the root is rada da, and the imperfect is yar do. Okay, so say rada da yar do. Does it sound a bit mealy mouthed? Yeah, it does. The Arabs don't like this doubled letter, rada da yardudu. So what they do is they put a sukun on that one, rad, da. You can see when you have a sukoon on that one and then a fatha on that one, you essentially get the two assimilating. We call it idgham, and then you get radda. And in the imperfect, instead of yardudu, they swap the vowels of the ra and the da. Watch what happens. So if we say yarud, yaruddu, yaruddu, these two dals are again going to assimilate and become one. You're going to get this. Right? So that's the phonetic change that happens in the doubled verb. Radda, yaruddu. Radda, yaruddu. And in the ismul fa'ili, instead of saying radidun, again, radidun sounds a bit mealy mouthed. So we double the dal again and say radun, radun. Okay? In the passive, we have rudda, yuraddu. See the vowel again. Instead of yuraddu, we have yuraddu. And then the passive participle, the ismul maf'ul, is actually quite normal. The two dals are separated, and you have mardudun. Verbal noun for this one is raddun or rududun. Imperative. Now, in the imperative, you can have rudda. You can have the one you'd expect, urdud, with the two dals separate, or you can have the double rudda. Both are correct. And also with the negative imperative, la tardud and la tarud. Da. Now notice, because you can't do rud, you can't do that. Rud, if you double the dal, you can't put a sukoon on both because you'll just get rud. So to avoid that, they put a fatha on the last one and say rudda. And of course, it's not written like that. It's written like this: rudda la tarudda. So that's the fatha put there in order to avoid the two sukoons in a row. All right, let's have a look at form 2. Form 2 is very normal. Jaddada yujaddidu fahuwa mujaddidun. Juddida yujaddadu fahuwa mujaddadun. Tajdidan jaddid la tujaddid. No phonetic changes there. Form 3 has a phonetic change. Instead of hajaja yuhajiju, you have hajja yuhajju fahuwa muhajjun. Hujja yuhajju fahuwa muhajjun. Notice the active and the passive in this one are identical. And then you can say hajij or hajja, la tuhajij, la tuhajja. Now beware that the dal will open up when you say radad tu. You say I returned, you'd say radadtu, radadtu. So from radadtu, radatta, radatti, radattum, radattunna, radattu, radadna. Those have the dal or the double letter opened up. So just beware of that. Okay, so you'd say hajajtu for hajja. Okay, form 4. You've noticed this one, haven't you? You've seen that one before. Uhibbu, I like. So, sorry. Yuhibbu would be uhibbu, I like. Would be uhibbu, I like, or I love. So let's have a look at this one. You have ahabba. Instead of ahbaba, you have ahabba. Instead of yuhbibu, you have yuhibbu. Ahabba yuhibbu fahuwa muhibbun. Muhibbun means the person who loves. My oldest brother is called Muhibbullahi, the one who loves Allah. Passive, uhibba, he was loved. Yuhabbu, he is loved. Fahuwa muhabbun, so he is loved. Verbal noun, ihbab. Ihbab, the double letter opens up in form 4. One thing you need to remember at form 4 is the hamza at the beginning is a real hamza. It's not a hamzatul wasl, which you'll get here and also in the verbal noun. Ihbab, and also in the imperative. Ahbib, love, or ahibba. Again, that fatha to avoid the sukoon, 2 sukoons. La tuhbib, la tuhibba. So how would I say love Muhammad? Ahbib Muhammadan, or ahibba Muhammadan. For a woman, I'd say ahibbi, ahibbu, but the feminine plural has to open up. You say ahbibna. Okay, let's do form 5. Taraddada, there's no phonetic changes in this one. The dals, the double letter opens up. Taraddada yataraddadu fahuwa mutaraddidun. Turuddida yutaraddadu fahuwa mutaraddadun taraddudan. Yeah, so if you didn't put a fatha on it, you just say taraddudun. Taraddad, la tataraddad. So if you tell somebody, please don't hesitate, min fadlika, la tataraddad, salma shi'ta. Please don't hesitate, ask what you want. Okay, form 6. Form 6, the hajja means to argue with each other. So hajja, form 3. Notice form 6 is just the form 3 without the, so with the ta. So tahajja yatahajju fahuwa mutahajjun. Tuhujja yutahajju fahuwa mutahajjun. Tahajjan or tahajjujan. Here the verbal noun also opens up. Yeah. So in the form 6, the verbal noun can also open up, and then you have tahajjaj or tahajja, la tatahajjaj, la tatahajja. Okay. Form 7, instead of inshaqaqa, you have inshaqqa. Inshaqqa yanshaqqu, which means to be split. What word do we know that has a sheen and a double qaf in it? It's a flat house. A flat house.
Oh, shaqqatun.
Shaqqatun. Good. Shaqqatun. So shaqqa comes from the root, the form 1. Shaqqa yashiqqu, which means to split open. Yeah. Shaqqa yashiqqu fahuwa shaqqun. So if I say shaqaqtu ra'sahu, what would that mean?
I split your head.
I split his head, right? شققت رأسه. شق رأسه. شق. Instead of saying شقق, we say شق for the passive. شق رأسه.
His head was split.
His head was split. You see? So that's the beauty of learning these verb forms. It enables you to do this with other verbs. So let me show you. This is radda yaruddu, passive. Rudda yuraddu. So instead of shaqqa yashiqqu, I said shuqqa yushaqqu. Shuqqa ra'suhu. His head was split. So if I say he returned the letter, he returned the message. Radda ar-risala ta. Radda ar-risalata, the message was returned.
Rudda risalatu. Ar-risalatu. Ruddu al-risalata. Oh, it's ruddat.
Ruddat.
Now, ar-risalatu is the subject of the passive verb, so the verb has to agree with the gender. So you'd have to say ruddat, it was returned, feminine, and then say ar-risalatu. Does that make sense? Yeah. If it's masculine, you'd say rudda al. What do you want to be returned? Rudda su'alu. The question was returned without an answer. Rudda su'alu, without an answer. بغير جواب. Good. أو بلا جواب. Good. So rudda means to be returned. So this is how you'd use these verbs. They're very common. We will see how common they are in the Quran, inshallah, in a bit. عفوا سأطفئ هذا الهاتف. طيب. So we have انشق ينشق. Is the word انشق in the Quran? Yes, it is. Who knows? ضربت الساعة وانشق القمر. The hour drew close and the moon was split. انشق القمر. Yeah, the moon was split. It's one of the miracles of the Prophet ﷺ. He split the moon. When he split the moon, شق محمد القمر بحول الله. Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he split the moon. شق القمر. Yeah, so he split it. شق القمر فانشق القمر. So we could say shaqqa al-qamaru using the passive of form 1, or we could use the active of form 7. Why? Because form 7 is always passive in its meaning. Yeah, so the active verb of form 7 has a passive meaning all the time. So you just say in shaqqa al-qamaru, the moon became split. In shaqqa yanshaqqu fahuwa munshaqqun, unshaqqa yunshaqqu fahuwa munshaqqun. Notice the active and the passive on this one are also the same. In shiqaq, this is the name of the surah, isn't it? In shiqaq. In shaqiq or in shaqqa, la tanshaqiq, la tanshaqqa. Right.
Ustad, so when would you use the passive of form 7 then? Because it carries the same meaning.
You'd very rarely use this passive in form 7. Sometimes they use it to demonstrate how passive it is. So sometimes they'll use the passive of form 7 to have this really the same meaning. Yeah.
So doesn't the surah have passive? إِذَا السَّمَاءُ انشَقَّتْ. Is that passive or?
إِذَا السَّمَاءُ, no. It's inshaqqat. إِذَا السَّمَاءُ inshaqqat.
Oh, inshaqqat.
Yeah. If it was passive, it would be إِذَا السَّمَاءُ unshaqqat. Yeah.
But the meaning is passive, right? I think that's what
The meaning of inshaqqa is passive, yes. That's right. Okay. What I meant was if the verb in the Quran was the passive form, it would have been إِذَا السَّمَاءُ انشَقَّتْ. Yeah, like this one. Okay. Form 8, irtadda instead of irtadada. And this, of course, form 8 of radda yaruddu, the one we did earlier in form 1. Irtadda yartaddu, which means to turn back. Now that can mean to physically turn back. It can also mean to recant or to resile on your beliefs. So the person who does irtadda is a murtaddun. Yeah. What do you call it? How do you translate the word murtaddun usually? An apostate. Irtadda yartaddu fahuwa murtaddun. Urtudda yurtaddu fahuwa murtaddun. Again, the active and the passive are the same. Irtidad, irtadid, or irtadda, la tartadid, la tartadda. Okay. Finally, form 10. Istahaqqa, from haqqaqa, which means truth. Istahaqqa means to deserve. For something to be right for you, as in you deserve it. Istahaqqa yastahiqqu fahuwa mustahiqqun. Ustuhiqqa yustahaqqu fahuwa mustahaqqun. So the person who deserves is mustahiqqun. Anta mustahiqqun, you are deserving. Hadha mustahaqqun, this is deserved, as in you deserved it. Yeah. Istihqaq, which means deserving or having a right to something. Istahqiq, istahqqa, la tastahqiq, la tastahqqa. Now, you might look at this and think, oh my God, this is overwhelming. The truth is, once you've learnt the form 1 of the double verb, and then 1 or 2 of the other derived forms, you just get the hang of it. It just starts having a ring to it, and it just makes sense. So I wouldn't try to feel overwhelmed, or I wouldn't feel overwhelmed seeing all of this. Just focus on 1. So if you've done the regular verb forms 1 to 10, then just focus on number 1 and say, right, I'm just going to do this for a few days. Radda yaruddu fahuwa raddun. Do that for a morning. Then do rudda yuraddu fahuwa mardudun. So mardud is something that's rejected. So if I say to someone, anta mardud, you're refused, you're rejected, mardud. Anybody know the word mardud in the Quran? Is there? Marduduna. Anybody know the verse? إِنَّا لَمَرْدُودُونَ فِي الْحَافِرَةِ. Mardud. Will we be returned? Are we returned? Mardud. Okay.
So all these letters, are they all qalqala letters? Is there some pattern to what letters double?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
No, you have massa yamassu. Yeah, mim and sin. And so just as we have in form 1 in the regular verb, you have kataba yaktubu. Here you have radda yaruddu. All right. So you could have a kasra in the middle letter as well. So you could have jadda yajiddu, massa yamassu. So this vowel here is going to change for different verbs. It's not always going to be dhamma.
Okay.
Okay.
So when
But in
we
the
did
passive,
like dhanna yadhunnu, is that in the pattern?
that's it. That's a double verb.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay.
Dhanna yadhunnu is like radda yaruddu. So you'd say, let's do this together, everybody. Dhanna yadhunnu fahuwa dhannun.
Nun.
Good. So the person who has a doubt or a belief is dhannun. Dhunna yudhannu fahuwa madhnunun. Dhann is the verbal noun. And then you have udhnun or dhunna, la tadhnun, la tadhunna. So if I say, don't think that I am your friend, la tadhunna annani sadiquka. If you're going to be nasty to somebody, try your grammar and be nasty at the same time. No, don't do that. Okay. Right, now, we're going to have a series of weak verbs. Now, the weak letter, as you know, is the waw or the ya. And the weak letter could either be at the middle, or, sorry, at the beginning, or in the middle, or at the end of the three-letter root, okay? And each of those is going to give us some phonetic changes. So we're going to do the initial weak verb, meaning the weak letter at the beginning, here. So we have a waw at the beginning, wajada. The first thing you notice is you don't say yawjidu. Right? So instead of yawjidu, which is what you'd expect, you drop that waw and you say yajidu. So the waw or the ya usually drops from the beginning of the imperfect. All right? Otherwise, it's pretty similar up to the imperative. So you have wajada yajidu fahuwa wajidun, wujida yujadu. You see that one? Yujadu is a passive, yujadu. Fahuwa mawjudun. And then you have the verbal noun. This verb has actually quite a lot of verbal nouns. They have wajdun, wujudun, jidatun, wujdanun. So you can have sometimes 5, 6, 7, 8 verbal nouns for one verb with slightly different meanings. I put the most common on wujud, which means existence. And then you have jid, find. Can you see the waw is dropped again? So instead of saying iwjid, we say jid, la tajid, find, don't find. All right, so let's do form 2. Form 2 is regular.
In the su'alan, afwan. I don't know if we've discussed it already, but for the negative imperative, is there something we need to, for the feminine, do we drop the nun?
Yeah, so you say la tajid, la tajidi, la tajidu, but for the feminine plural, you don't, la tajidna.
Okay, so it works the same as the other imperative in that sense.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, form 2 is regular. وحد يوحد فهو موحد. وحد يوحد فهو موحد. توحيد is the verbal noun for that one. توحيدا. وحد لا توحد. So we know we had رتب, arrange. رتب لا ترتب, it's the same. Now form 3, again regular. واصل يواصل, to continue. فهو مواصل. ووصل يواصل فهو مواصل. Remember we had المواصلات العامة. Remember that? Public transport. Yeah. So we use the word مواصل or مواصلة. So that's the verbal noun. Public continuances or public transports, literally. So can you see the verbal noun of this form and the passive participle look similar? In fact, are the same, except this is feminine. Yeah, we did that in the regular forms. We have muwasalun, verbal noun, wisalun, and muwasalatun. This word wisalun has a lot of spiritual meaning. Certain scholars from Islamic history use it to refer to being connected to God. They call it wisal. Wasil la tuwasil. 4. Now, form 4 does have a phonetic change. We'll see what happens in a bit. So we have awqafa, and it could be a ya. So you could say ayqadha, ayqadha, to wake somebody up. Yeah, istayqadha is form 10, to wake up. Form 4, ayqadha, ayqadha yuqidhu is form 4, to wake somebody up. Notice when you have a ya there, it turns to a waw in the imperfect. Otherwise, you'd end up saying yuqidu, yui. So no matter what you have here, you're going to have a waw here. So awqafa yuqifu means to stop somebody. فهو موقف. وقف يوقف. فهو موقف. إيقافا. Now notice the waw also changes to a ya here. إيقاف. أوقف لا توقف. Okay, so how do you say don't stop this car?
لا يوقف هذه السيارة.
Why did you change the ta to a ya?
Ah, because I read it wrong.
Okay, la.
توقف.
Okay, are you talking to a man or a woman?
A woman.
Is that why you said tuqifi?
Yeah.
Okay, how do you say to a man?
توقف.
Good. La tuqif, don't stop. And then this car?
هذه السيارة.
هذه السيارة. Good. Don't stop this car. And if you tell somebody, stop this car, stop that car.
أوقف تلك السيارة.
Good. أوقف تلك السيارة. Excellent. Okay, form 5 is regular. توجه يتوجه فهو متوجه. توجه يتوجه فهو متوجه. توجها توجه لا تتوجه. Form 6 is also regular. So you see, so in this section, there's quite a few that are regular. The key ones you have to focus on here are form 1 because of this yajidu and jid there, those two, right? So do you want me to highlight the ones you need to focus on? Do you think that will help?
Yes, please. Yes.
All right, let's do this. Yeah, look at this. Yeah. All right. So you focus on that, yeah, and that. So that's where you lose the vowels. Otherwise, everything else is normal. Form 2 is regular. Form 3 is regular. Form 4. So awqafa is normal. Yuqifu is normal. Muqifun, uqifa yuqafu, muqafun, iqaf. The waw changed to a yeah. Awqif la tuqif. That's normal. So the only anomaly here is iqaf. Form 5 is regular. Form 6 is regular. So this one doesn't exist in Form 7. Nice. Right. Form 8. In Form 8, instead of saying iutasala, you have a ta here. Ittasala. All right. So you want to focus on all of these. There we are. Ittasala yattasilu fahuwa muttasilun. Uttusila yuttasalu fahuwa muttasalun ittisalan. So what does ittisal mean? It means a phone call or a connection. Ittasil. So if you tell somebody, call me, you say ittasil bi, because this verb comes with the preposition bi. Ittasil bi, call me. La tattasil, don't call. Form 9. So Form 9 will not exist in any of these weak versions because it's just for colors. Okay. And then you have Form 10. Istawqada, he lit a fire. Nothing different. Istawqada yastawqidu fahuwa mustawqidun. Ustuqida yustawqadu fahuwa mustawqadun. Istiqad. See, now that wow has changed to a ya here as well. Istawqid la tastawqid. So in this section of 3 pages, the only thing you need to focus on are this one, ittasala, and then the verbal nouns of Form 10 and Form 4, and then just those 3 from Form 1, where you see the waw dropping. That's it. Nice and easy. Let's go to the next section. Middle week. These are called hollow. You've seen this before. قال يقول فهو قائل. قيل يقال فهو مقول. قولا قل لا تقل. All right. So here it's just like كان يكون فهو كائن. And then the passive of كان is never used, never heard it. كينا يكانو, never heard of it. فهو مكون, again probably very rare. كون, كون means existence or universe. كن, be. لا تكن, don't be. Okay, so this is not something new for you. You've seen this before. Just remember that the qa'ilun, the hollow letter, the waw or the ya, changes to a hamza in the ismul fa'ili. So be aware of that. And whether or not you have a waw or a ya, it's going to be a ya in the passive. Qila yuqalu. You don't get any waws here. So maybe focus on those two as well. And maqulun as well. Those you've really seen before, but I'll highlight them anyway. Right, now I'm just giving you other versions of the same form one. So if you have a ya here, you have ba'a yabi'u fahuwa ba'i'un, bi'a yuba'u fahuwa mabi'un. So this word mabi' is used very commonly for sale items, goods, you'd use it for goods, things that you're selling. So in the shop, you'd say mabi'atun, display items or things to be sold. Bi' is sale, bi' sell, la tabi', don't sell. Now sometimes, even though the middle letter is a waw, you don't say yanumu. There's an anomaly sometimes. So you say nama, yanamu, fahuwa na'imun, nima. So with nima, you'd have to say it was slept in. So you say nima fihi, yunamu fihi, fahuwa manumun. Naum is the verb noun, nam, sleep. La tanam, don't sleep. All right, so forms 2, 3, 5, and 6 in this version are normal. See the middle letter, the weak letters appear. So there's no phonetic changes. So I'm going to skip this. But these are the verbs. Jawwada, he improved. Hawala, he tried. Remember we done hawala yuhawilu, to try. That's a hollow verb in form 3. Tatawwa'a yatatawwa'u, he volunteered. Ta'awana yata'awanu, he cooperated. Okay, form 4. In form 4, instead of arwada, you say arada. So you say arada yuridu fahuwa muridun. Urida yuradu fahuwa muradun. Iradatan, irada is your verbal noun. So notice here in the verbal noun, to compensate for the loss of the waw, instead of saying irwadun, we say irada, we introduce a feminine ta marbuta in the verbal noun of form 4, hollow. So let's do another verb. If we have aqama yuqimu, which means to take residence. Yeah, aqama, he stayed or he took residence. Aqama yuqimu fahuwa
muqimun.
Muqimun. Uqima yuqamu. So you'd say uqima fil bayti. It was stayed in the house, as in people stayed there. Uqima yuqamu fahuwa muqamun. Verbal noun?
Iqamatun.
Iqamatun. Iqama. Yeah. Muddatu iqamati thalathatu ayyamin. Iqamati, my stay. Iqamatun is your verbal noun. You see? So you just do, so what you do is you just think, right, iqamatun is the verbal noun of form 4 hollow. So any other verb form of that type will have the same type of verbal noun. Let me give you another one. Okay, ashara. Ashara means to point. He pointed. Ashara yushiru fahuwa mushirun. Good. Ushira ilayhi, he was pointed to. Ushira ilayhi, yusharu ilayhi fahuwa musharun ilayhi. Verbal noun, isharatun. Some of you are making it too long. You're saying isharatun. Yeah, don't make it long. There's no alif here. Isharatun. The demonstrative pronoun is called ismul isharati, isn't it? You know, the noun of ishara, the noun of pointing. Ashir la tushir. لا تشير إلي, don't point to me. لا تقم هنا, don't stay here. Okay. All right. Let's have form 7. In saqa, from the root sawaqa, from which we have suq, which means market. In saqa, to be driven. So saqa yasuqu, form 1, means to drive. So saqa yasuqu fahuwa sa. The active participle of the hollow.
سائق.
Sa'iqun. Good. So we had nama yanamu fahuwa na'imun. Yeah. Saqa yasuqu fahuwa sa'iqun. So sa'iqun means a driver. If somebody says ana sa'iqu sayyarati ujratin, what does that mean?
Taxi driver.
The taxi driver?
I'm a taxi driver. Yeah. Ana sa'iqu sayyarati ujratin. No. So in saqa yansaqu. See the munsaq and munsaq are the same. In siyaq, insaq la tansaq. Form 8, ihtaja. This is a very common one. From hawaja, we have ihtaja yahtaju, afwan. Ihtaja yahtaju, fahuwa muhtajun. So the person who needs is muhtaj. So if I say ana muhtajun ila ma'in, I am in need of water. Uhtija ila ma'in, water was needed. Yuhtaju ila ma'in, water is needed. Fahuwa muhtajun, al-ma'u muhtajun, water is needed. So the active and the passive here are also the same. Ihtiyaj is the verbal noun, and they often use the word, the plural of this, to refer to your needs. هذه احتياجاتي, these are my needs. هذه احتياج الحياة المعاصرة, these are the needs of modern life. احتج, need, لا تحتج, don't need. And form 10.
Ustad,
Istaqama.
For especially, I think it's for both of these 8 and 10. How would you do the perfect verb in first and second person? Do you lose the alif?
Yes. So you'd say ihtaj to. Yeah. Ihtajtu, ihtajta, ihtajti, ihtajtum, ihtajtum, ihtajta, ihtajti, ihtajtum, ihtajtu, ihtajna.
Okay, sure.
ihtajtunna. ihtaj, ihtaju. Okay, istaqama. So what happens with all of these is you lose the alif in the first person. So you say, in saqtu, I was driven. Ihtajtu, I needed. Istaqamtu, I was straight. As in I went along on a straight line. Aradtu, you lose the alif. Aradtu, I wanted to. Here we have, these are regular, and we did those. We lose the alif in the form 1s as well. So istaqama yastaqimu fahuwa mustaqimun. Ihdina as-sirata al-mustaqim. Ustuqima yustaqamu fahuwa mustaqamun. Istiqamatun. So in this form 10, can you see? In form 4 and form 10, you have this additional ta marbuta. See that? That happens only in the form 4 and the form 10. Istiqamatun. Istaqim la tastaqim. ثم استقم, and then be straight, and then be upright. Right. And finally, the terminal weak. What happens when the weak letter is at the end? Now in form 4, there are 4 types, depending on the voweling and which weak letter it is. So if the weak letter is a waw, yeah, if the weak letter is a waw, and the voweling is always like this, yeah, you're going to have da'a, yad'u. And the way we distinguish between that and where the weak letter is a ya is whenever the weak letter is a waw, we always write it with an alif mamduda, a long alif. Whereas when the weak letter is a ya, we'll write it with a short alif. So beware. So if I say da'a, you know that the imperfect, because it's written with a long alif, is yad'u. Does that make sense? Okay, let me give you another one. If I say to you nama, is it going to be written with a long alif or a short alif? If I say to you nama yanmu,
Long alif.
Long alif.
Good. If I say to you qada yaqdi, will it be written with a long alif or a short alif?
Short alif.
Short alif. Good, you got it. Okay, so you have da'a yad'u fahuwa da'in. So the active participle of all of these is of this type, because you're not allowed to do this. You can't say da'iyun. So what we do, because what you've got effectively here is da'iyun, like this. Yeah, da'iyun. So because we don't like to say iyu, we drop this ya. Watch what happens. You're left with da'in. And of course, we don't write the tanween out with a noon. So all we do is write the tanween on the ain there. Da'in. Da'in means a caller. And we've done situations. There's 4 key situations when that ya comes back. Who can remember what they are?
When it
When it
becomes
goes up.
feminine, becomes
One by
feminine.
one. When it's feminine, good. So da'i,
Yadun
yatun. So when it's feminine, the ya comes back. When else?
becomes definite.
Good. So if you said ad-da'i, you put a ya with a sukoon. Good. What other situation?
When it goes up.
When it goes up. Good. So when you're saying da'iyan, you say da'iyan like that. And when else?
And it's the first word of an idafa.
Good. So if I say that a caller, the caller of Islam, da'il islami, the ya will come back. Like nadis sihhati. There we are. So the word nadin comes from this weak root, nadawa. Yeah, nada yandu is your verb. Fahuwa nadin. Yep. So you have da'a yad'u fahuwa da'in, du'iya yud'a fahuwa mad'uun. So the waw comes back in the passive, mad'uun. So effectively what you're doing here is you say mad'uun. What's going to happen to the 2 vowels in mad'uun? They're going to assimilate, right? So you get this, mad'uun. So if I, ana mad'uun ila haflatin.
I'm called.
I am called to the party.
I am called, I am invited. Good. Ana da'in ila al-islami.
I'm a caller
Caller of Islam.
to Islam.
Caller to Islam. Anta mad'uun ila al-islami.
You are called to Islam.
You are called. Good. Good. And we have 2 verbal nouns here. We have du'a'un. So du'a is calling out, a plea for help. Du'a. Da'watun is a general call or an invitation. Imperative ud'u. Now in the imperative of these, you lose the weak letter, because in the imperfect, the waw already has a sukoon. So you can't do the jazm by just putting another sukoon on it. There's already a sukoon. So you lose the weak letter. In the imperatives, we lose the weak letter. So for example here, if I said lam, he didn't call. Lam yad'u, we drop the note wow. You say lam yad'u. Yeah, lam yad'u. So in the jazm case, we lose the weak letter. Okay, let's do jara yajri. So that's type 1, da'a yad'u. So learn these as types. Da'a yad'u is type 1. Type 2, jara yajri, which has the vowing of jalasa yajlisu. You see the kasra here? Jara yajri. So jara yajri fahuwa jarin. Jarin is a runner or something that runs. Juriya yujra. Can't really translate that. You wouldn't use it. Never heard it used. Juriya yujra fahuwa majriyun. which theoretically exists but not used. Jaryun means running. Jarayanun means flowing. Ijri, run. La tajri, don't run. Aba means to refuse. He refused. Aba ya'ba. So this is qara'a yaqra'u voweling with a ya. Aba ya'ba fahuwa abin. Ubiya yu'ba fahuwa ma'biyun. Iba'un is the verbal noun. And you have iba, la ta'ba. Refuse, don't refuse. Notice the hamza here turned into a ya. We're gonna see this right at the end of the session today, where we look at verbs with hamzas in them. So aba is one of those, and that hamza turned into a ya. This is called tasheel, or easing, making easy, because itba is a bit heavy on the throat. And then type 4 is with a ya again. So type 1 is the only one with a waw. All right, so if the last letter is a waw, it's always going to be type 1. If it's a ya, it could be this type, or this type, or this type. This type is like the fahima yafhamu type. So you have nasiya, yansa, fahuwa nasin, nusiya yunsa, fahuwa mansiyun. So can you see the passives of these three, this one, and this one, and this one are the same. Majriyun, ma'biyun, mansiyun. Whereas with the waw, it was mad'uun. Well, now, nisyanun, insa, la tansa. Forget, don't forget. So how would I say, forget the matter?
انسى الأمر.
Insa al-amra. Yeah, forget the matter. I once had somebody who stole some money off me. And then he told me afterwards, why are you making such a fuss? Insa al-amra, forget the matter. So the thief says, forget it, it's okay, forget about it. Insa al-amra. Right. Number 2. We're going to double the letter now. So from raba wa. Now, the good thing is from 2 onwards, regardless of whether it's a waw or ya or the voweling of the form 1, the pattern from form 2 onwards is always the same, which is very nice. Okay, so you have rabba yurabbi fahuwa murabbin. So you're still going to get this manqus word here in the active participle. Fahuwa murabbin. Rubbiya yurabba fahuwa murabban. Murabban also means jam, as in marmalade. Why do you think we call jam murabban?
Educated.
The jam is educated.
Is it like aged or something? I don't know.
Yeah, yes. So in English, we call jam conserve or preserve, don't we? Because it's cultured, nurtured. You have to nurture it. It takes time for it to cure. I don't know if that's the right word. Does jam cure or mature? It matures? Yeah, maybe
so.
It matures. Yeah. So it's murabban, matures, matured. Verbal noun, tarbiyatun. So watch out for the verbal noun of this form 2. You got this ya here, tarbiyah. Do not put shadda on the ya. Don't say tarbiyah. That's incorrect. It's tarbiyah, tarbiyah. Okay. Let's move on. Form 3. Nada yunadi fahuwa munadin. Nudiya yunada fahuwa munadan. Those of you who are familiar with the Quran, you'll see I've tried to choose words that exist in the Quran. Nida'an munadatan. Now this one, notice you've got a sta marbuta here. Munadat, which exists. So let's have a look at the verbal noun forms of this form 3 in the regular verb. So I'm going to go back up. Gone too far. Sorry. Find our page. Here we are. So let's have a look at form 3. Yeah. Okay. So you have jihadun and mujahadatun. Jihadun, mujahadatun. Right. And let's go back to where we were. Where are we? So we've gone too far. Okay, here we are. So we've got this nida yun. Instead of ya, we've got a hamza. It's turned into a hamza. Nida'un. And we've got this munadatun. So we've got the ta marbuta, which is normal for the form 3 verbal noun, the second type. But here you've got this munadatun, mujahadatun. We've got this alif because of its weakness. So the verbal noun is nida'un, munadatun. Right. Let's do another version. Let's do naja. Naja yunaji fahuwa muna jin. So naja means to call out secretly, okay? To pray secretly. Naja yunaji fahuwa munajin. Nujiya yunaja fahuwa munajan. Verbal noun munajatun. Munajat. ما معنى مناجات؟ Munajat? Have you heard that word before?
Yes, like.
Yes, munajat is the word we use for praying secretly. Your secret prayers are your munajat. But not nadi, la tunadi. Form 4, أعطى يعطي فهو معط. أعطي يعطى فهو معطا. Double noun, إعطاء. Again, you got a hamza here. Notice that hamza. أعطي لا تعطي. So give me, أعطني. Form 5. تلقى يتلقى فهو متلق. تلقي يتلقى فهو متلقا. تلقيا تلقى لا تتلقى. Form 6. تواصى يتواصى فهو متواص. توصي يتواصى فهو متواصا. تواصيا. Yeah, that comes into your verbal noun. Tawasi. Actually, you know, the verbal noun here will actually be tawasin. Yeah, it's a manqus word. This verbal noun is manqus, and so is this one. Talaqqin, which actually encourages me to make these words default. Why? Because otherwise you can't show that these words are manqus. So this is talaqqin in default, tawasin in default. Tawasa la tatawasa. So I'm actually going to go through and change all of these back to default. Tawasa la tatawasa. Form 7, in baga. In baga yanbaghi fahuwa munbaghin. Unbughiya yunbagha fahuwa munbaghan. In bigha. Again, you got this hamza here in bigha. And you have inbaghi la tanbaghi, to be necessary. Form 8, irtada. From radiya yarda, we have irtada yartadi, fahuwa murtadin. Urtudiya yurtada, fahuwa murtadan. Who is al-murtada? Who had the title al-murtada?
Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Yes, and also Ali radiallahu anhu is known as al-murtada. We butcher that name and we call it Murtaza. Have you heard of people called Murtaza?
Yes.
Yes, that's Murtada. So it's Murtadan, Irtida'un, noun. Irtadi, la tartadi. And form 10, finally, Istathna yastathni, fahuwa mustathnin. Ustuthniya yustathna, fahuwa mustathnan. Istithna'un, which means exception. So if I say to somebody, Anta istithna'un, you are an exception. Anta istithna'un lil'adati. Anta istithna'un lil'adati. What am I saying?
You're an exception to the rule.
You're an exception to the norm. Yeah. Istithna'un, istathni, la tastathni. Yeah. Istathna, yastathni also means to say, insha'Allahu. Okay, it's a technical term we use in Islam. If you say insha'Allahu, that means you've done istithna. So if I say to somebody istethni, I'm saying to them, say what?
Say inshallah.
Say inshallah. Yes. Right.
Ustad,
وَلَا يَسْتَثْنُونَ. It's in the Quran. وَلَا يَسْتَثْنُونَ. Which surah is this in? Where are the huffaz?
Surah Qalam.
Yes. وَلَا, who's
Although
that?
I'm not Hafaz. Afwan.
عفوا. من قال هذا؟
Ana.
نعم. وَلَا يَسْتَثْنُونَ. They forgot to say Insha'Allah. Okay.
Ustad, I had a quick question on all of those. Just you mentioned you can't tell for forms 2 to 10 if it's a wow or a yeah. Is it just you know the form 1 before you create, for example, you know the form 1 it comes from?
Yeah, you don't know the weak letter, so you will either learn it because you learned that root somewhere else, or you look it up. So istithna comes from thanawa, which is the same root as the word number 2. Yeah, because thana yathnu means to fold something. And when you fold something, you turn 1 into 2. So you have thana yathnu fahuwa thanin. Thanin is a number 2, isn't it? Yeah. So thanin is the active participle of a weak form 1 verb, thana yathnu. You take that into form 10, you get istethna, istethni. There's no way of working this out. You have to learn those. Okay, but don't worry too much. You can look this up very easily. If you've got the Handswear dictionary, actually you can't look it up. So what you do is you guess. You say it's either wow or a ya, right? So you look up thanawa, click. There we are. It's come up. It's very quick. There we are. And we have thana yathni, to double. Why is it saying thana yathni? Maybe I was wrong. Thana yathni. I'm sure there's also a thana yathnu, but I may be wrong. So it's thana yathni, and it's come up. And because the wow and the ya are close in the dictionary, usually they'll be nearby. So I got it wrong. I wrote thanawa, but I found thanaya. There we are. So the verb is thana yathni, like jara yajri, fahuwa thanin. There we are. So that's how you find it. Just use your hands where. Right. Now let's have a look at a few anomalies. You have this verb ra'a, which is like aba ya'ba. So it's like the form 1 week, type 3. So we had da'a yad'u, jara yajri, aba ya'ba. So here we have ra'a, and here you want to say yar'a, isn't it? Ra'a yar'a. That's what you'd expect. Ra'a yar'a. However, yar'a sounds horrible, so they drop the hamza and they replace the sukun on the ra with a fatha. So you have ra'a yara. This happens when you have hamzas in certain words. So the hamza also gives you a form of weakness because it's heavy. So we have ra'a yara, fahuwa ra'in, ru'ya yura. Instead of yur'a, you have yura. فهو مرئي. So مرئي means visible. رأي is opinion. رؤية is vision. And the imperative is just ra. Just the ra. And then you have la tara. Ra, la tara.
Ustad, you know, in this form 1 type 3, where's the ya wow? I can't see either. There's no ya or wow.
Yes, because the ya becomes an alif. When you say jara, you don't say jara ya, you say jara, isn't it?
It's becoming an alif in both the perfect and the imperfect.
Yes, in aba ya'ba. Let's go back to aba ya'ba. Let's have a look at those again. There we are. So here, as you can see, that you can't see a wow. Instead of da'awa, yeah, we have a da'a. Instead of jaraya, we have a jara. No alif. Sorry, no ya. Same here. So with this one, it's jara yajri. Form type 3 is aba ya'ba. So you have alif maqsura on both. Here. Yeah. So the ra'a yar'a is of this type 3. It's like aba ya'ba. However, because of the hamza in the middle, we have an anomaly, and that is here. Instead of saying yar'a, you say yara. Same thing happens here. Instead of saying yur'a, you have yura. فهو مرئي رأي رؤية verb noun imperative را. Look. لا ترى, don't look. Now, if you have a weak letter at the beginning and the end, instead of waqaya, instead of waqiya, yaqi, you have waqa, yaqi. Sorry, yawqi, because remember the waw is going to drop here. So instead of saying waqa, yawqi, you have waqa, yaqi, fahuwa waqin, wuqiya yuqa, fahuwa mawqiyun, wiqayatun. Remember the noon wiqaya. And that noon you put in at the end of the verb before the pronoun ya. So you say, for example, a'ti'ni, that noon is called noonul wiqaya, the noon of protection. The imperative is qi. So how do you say, and protect us from the fire? Wa qi.
وقنا عذاب النار.
وقنا عذاب النار. وقنا. The qi, just the qaf is the imperative. قنا. وقنا عذاب النار. قi, لا تقي. Then if you have the weak letters in the middle and the end, you get this. نوى ينوي فهو ناو. نوي ينوى فهو منوي. نية is a verbal noun. إنوي لا تنوي. Right. In form 8, if you have a saw, so the root is safa wa. Safa wa. When you have a saw, because the saw is heavy, the ta of form 8 becomes a ta. So you don't say istafa, which is hard to switch from the saw to the ta, so it becomes a ta. Istafa yastafi fahuwa mustafin. Ustufiya yustafa fahuwa mustafan. Who was al-Mustafa?
The Prophet sallallahu
Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Good. Mustafa. Istifa'un istafi la tastafi. Now, remember with the initial week, instead of iu tasala, which we turned the waw into a ta and doubled the ta, so we said ittasala. Remember that? We have something similar here. When you have da'a yad'u in form 8, instead of saying id, so instead of saying id ta'a, can you see? The ta becomes the da in any case. So you end up saying idda'a. So you're going to do it like this. Idda'a, which means to claim. Idda'a yadda'i fahuwa mudda'in. So these are legal terms. The mudda'in is the claimant. Uddu'iya yudda'a fahuwa mudda'an. That's the person who's claimed against. Iddi'a'un idda'i la tadda'i. Right, we're going to look at a few hamzated verbs now. Now, from the root akhadha, when you get form 1, watch what happens. Akhadha ya'khudhu fahuwa akhidhun. When you have hamza, followed by that, we just write it like this. Akhidhun. All right, it's just a hamza followed by an alif. Akhidhun. أخذ يؤخذ فهو مأخوذ. أخذ, which is taking. We lose the hamza in the imperative خذ, but not in the negative imperative. خذ لا تأخذ. Same with أكل. Watch. أكل يأكل فهو آكل. أكل يؤكل فهو مأكول. Yeah. فجعلهم كعصف
مأكول.
مأكول. Eaten, chewed up, devoured. مأكول أكل كل eat كلوا مما في الأرض حلالا طيبا كل لا تأكل eat don't eat أمر he commanded أمر يأمر فهو آمر أمر يؤمر فهو مأمور أمرا. Now with this one you have both. You can say مر or وأمر. Yeah. So when you have a waw before it, you say wa'mur. When there's nothing before it, you say mur. Mur, wa'mur, la ta'mur.
Ustad, these
Yeah.
three, are they the same pattern?
What do you mean by same pattern?
The three we've just done, what's the difference between them? They look the same.
They're just examples, yeah.
Okay.
Examples of what happens when you have a hamza. Sometimes the imperative, you can have an option, but with these two you don't. So you can't say wa'khudh. Yeah, you say wa'khudh, wa'kul. You don't say wa'kul, you say wa'kul. But here you can say wa'mur. Okay. And same here. So you say sa'ala yas'alu. Now the hamza is in the middle. See, not at the beginning. Sa'ala yas'alu fahuwa sa'ilun. So you don't get this sa'amirun thing, got the sa'ilun. Now, be careful. The word sa'ilun could also be the active participle of what? Where do you see a hamza in the middle in an active participle?
Form 1 hollow.
In the hollow, good. So
Sala.
sala, good. So from the hollow verb sala yasilu, which means it flowed. Sala yasilu fahuwa sa'ilun. It flowed, it is flowing, and therefore it is a liquid. So the word sa'ilun means liquid, and it also means a questioner. So be careful with the hamza in the middle. It could be because the hamza is an original hamza, or it could be because the hamza has been introduced for the active participle of a hollow verb. Su'ila yus'alu fahuwa mas'ulun. Su'alun is a verbal noun. And then you can say sal, ask, or you can just say is'al. Here you've got both options. Is'al, la tas'al. Right. Form 3. Form 3 you have akhadha. Again, you got this tasheel of the hamza. Akhadha yu'akhidhu. Fahuwa mu'akhidhun. Again, that tasheel is here. So form 3 of akhadha means to punish, to take, to account. Akhadha yu'akhidhu fahuwa mu'akhidhun. Ukhidha yu'akhadhu fahuwa mu'akhadhun. Mu'akhadhatun, punishment. Akhidh, la tu'akhidh. So if I say la tu'akhidhni bima nasitu. La tu'akhidhni bima nasitu. What does that mean?
Don't take me for I forgot what I forgot.
Don't punish me for what I have forgotten. Who said that?
Musa alayhi salam.
Musa alayhi salam, that's right. He says, don't take me to account. Don't chide me. Don't tell me off for what I've forgotten. All right. Now, in form 4, you get the same thing, amana. So can you see akhadha and amana look the same? But akhadha is form 3, whereas amana is form 4. The difference is in the imperfect. Akhadha yu'akhidhu, whereas here you have amana yu'minu. So be careful. So when you see this, you need to decide, is that a form 3 or a form 4? Yeah? Think of another one. It's very rare, can't think of one. Awa. It's a weak one. Awa. So is it going to be yu'awi, form 3, or yu'wi, form 4? In this case, it's yu'wi. Awa yu'wi means to give somebody shelter. Okay. So you have amana yu'minu fahuwa mu'minun. Umina, notice the hamza became a waw here. It's just saying u'mina. It's umina yu'manu fahuwa mu'manun. Iman, in the verbal noun, the waw changes to, or the hamza changes to a ya. You have iman. Amin la tu'min. Right. I've made up my own version of this one. And it's a neologism. It's a verb I'm introducing to the Arabic language. It means it's amala yu'milu fahuwa mu'milun. Umila yu'malu fahuwa mu'malun. Imal amil la tu'mil. What do you think it means? Email. What English word does that sound like?
Email.
Email, yeah. It's my own Arabic word which means to email. So I say amilni ghadan. Email me tomorrow. That was a joke. You're welcome to laugh if you want to. Right. Form 8. You have a hamza here. Sometimes the hamza, you have an alternative. You can pronounce the hamza or you can soften it with a ya. So you can say i'tamara or itamara. Right, otherwise it's just regular. There's nothing irregular about this. I'tamara ya'tamiru also means to conspire. This word is actually in the Qur'an. And the word mu'tamarun is very commonly used in modern Arabic to mean a conference. And I think we're on the last one now. Here, the hamza, instead of saying i'takhadha, saying i'takhadha, just saying that i'takhadha, what happens with the hamza? It doubles up. So you say ittakhadha yattakhidhu fahuwa muttakhidhun, muttakhidha yuttakhadhu fahuwa muttakhadhun, ittikhadh, ittakhidh la tattakhidh. That means to take up or to adopt. This brings us to the end of the verb forms. So please don't feel overwhelmed by this. This is more of a reference resource for you to refer to when you see words, which is what we're going to do right now. So we're going to see if we can identify these words. All right, let's see. Right, what do you see here?
Sal.
Sal, right. Somebody explain to me what's going on here. Sal.
It's an imperative.
Command.
Command from what type of verb? What's the verb?
Form 1.
Form 1 with a hamza in the middle. Sa'ala. Yeah. We lose the hamza. We don't say is'al. We can say is'al, remember that? But you can also say sal. Sal. Okay. Sal bani Isra'ila, ask the children of Israel, kam ataynahum, ataynahum. Ata yu'ti fahuwa mu'tin.
Form 4.
Form 4 of ata ya'ti, which means to come. Yeah. Ata yu'ti means to bring or to give. It has a very similar meaning to a'ta yu'ti. Ata yu'ti means to give. How much we gave them min ayatin bayyinatin of clear sign. وَمَنْ يُبَدِّلْ بَدَّلَ يُبَدِّلُ. What do we have here?
Form 2.
Form 2, regular. نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ, whoever changes the ni'mah of Allah, مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا جَاءَتْهُ, جَاءَ.
Form 1.
Form 1, hollow. جَاءَ يَجِيءُ. جَاءَتْهُ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ شَدِيدُ الْعِقَابِ. All right, let's try to have a few other people try to contribute. Okay. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَا أَرْسَلَ يُرْسِلُ. Form 4, good. Form 4, regular. Min qablika, we didn't send before you, illa rijalan, except men, nuhi ilayhim. We can tell me what the verb is here. Good. Somebody's speaking, but the voice is very low. Awha yuhi, which means to inspire. Form?
Must be 4.
Form 4, good. Form 4, weak. In fact, it's weak at the beginning and at the end. There's a wow here. Awha yuhi fahuwa muhin. Yeah, it means to inspire. Nuhi, we inspire them. Fas'alu. Now, the hamzas reappeared, it's become normal because there's a fa before it. So you say فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنْتُمْ. Kuntum, of course, is from kana, hollow. لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Okay. See what we have here. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. Good. آمَنَ يُؤْمِنُ.
آمن يؤمن إيمان.
Good. آمَنَ يُؤْمِنُ إِيمان. Good. آمَنُوا إِذَا جَاءَكُمْ. جَاءَ, of course, is hollow. جَاءَ يَجِيءُ. الْمُؤْمِنَاتُ. مُؤْمِن is the ism al-fa'il of آمَنَ, right? مُهَاجِرَاتٍ. What do we have here?
هاجر
هاجر يهاجر.
Good. It's the ism al-fa'il from هاجر يهاجر, form 3. Muhajir, one who travels. If they come to you, muhajiratin, this is an adverb. If they come to you in a state of being travelers, muhajiratin, that's why this is gone up. Has this word gone up? Muhajiratin.
Yes.
Yes. Sound feminine plural.
Good. Sound feminine plural can't have a fatha. Good. فَامْتَحِنُوهُنَّ.
امتحن
Just
يمتحن.
form 8.
امتحن
Form 8, imperative. Imtahin, imtahin. Good. Allahu a'lamu. This is
One regular.
huh?
I think it's form
علم
4.
يعلم.
No, this is not a verb.
Form 4.
Oh.
It's not a verb. A'lamu does mean I know. A'lamu would mean I know, right? A'lamu, I know. But here, this is ismu tafdeel, it's a superlative. Allah is most knowing. Allahu a'lamu, Allah knows best. Bi-imanihim, iman. See the ya there? Iman, from the form for amana yu'minu. فَإِنْ عَلِمْتُمُوهُنَّ. This is a verb. If you knew them or know them, mu'minatin, to be believers, فَلَا تَرْجِعُوهُنَّ. Do not return them. رَجَعَ يَرْجِعُ, to return from one. إِلَى الْكُفَّارِ. لَا هُنَّ حِلٌّ لَهُمْ. They are not halal for them. وَلَا هُمْ يَحِلُّونَ لَهُنْ. And they are not halal for them. Yeah? وَآتُوهُمْ. آتَى يُؤْتِي. It's that same verb we saw earlier, right? So what's the verbal noun of آتَى يُؤْتي?
آت.
No, آتٍ is the ismul fa'il of form 1. أتى يأتي.
Is it إيتاء?
إيتاء. Good. Good, good. So these verbal noun verb forms, you don't learn them by understanding them. You learn them by learning them. You just memorize them. And you don't try to memorize all of them together. That's a bad idea. You just pick a verb for the day. You just work through them. Do one a day. And every day revise all of them that you've done before. And in about 30 days, you'll have 30 of them. And once you've got 30 inside your system, the rest will just click. Trust me, they just click. But you have to get to a tipping point. Yeah? Get to that tipping point by just focusing. And it's really, you have to focus on the detail. I'm going to give you the same advice I give you with the matrix. Just learn the matrix. Yeah? Don't try to be innovative before you've imitated. Just imitate what's there, put it into your system, and let your brain process it. And then you'll see what happens. So here you have ata yu'ti, ita'un, like imanun. All right, except because it's weak, you have a hamza at the end. Ita'un. Inna Allah ya'muru bil adli wal ihsani wa ita'i dhil qurba. Have you heard that?
Yeah.
Fridays in the khutbah. Inna Allah ya'muru bil adli wal ihsani wa ita'i dhil qurba wa yanha 'anil fahsha'i wal munkari wal baghi. Yeah. So wa ita'i dhil qurba mean and giving to people who are your relatives. Ma anfaqu wa atuhum ma anfaqu, and give them what they spent. Anfaqa yunfiqu, form 4, to spend. ولا جناح عليكم أن تنكحوهن إذا آتيتموهن. آتا again, and there is no blame upon you if you marry them, if you give them أجورهن, their mahar. ولا تمسكوا تمسك.
Form 4 again.
Good. أمسك يمسك, to hold. ولا تمسكوا بعصم الكوافر واسألوا ما أنفقتم وليسألوا. This is the mild imperative. وليسألوا, and let them ask ما أنفقوا. ذلكم حكم الله يحكم بينكم الله عليم حكيم. Let's move on so we can get through this. وأمر أهلك.
آمرة.
That's the imperative we had.
Good. The imperative of amara. And if we didn't have a wow here, could we say u'mur? Or would we have to say?
Is it more?
We'd have to say mur. Good. So you can only use the hamza here when there's wow or a fa before it. So you say wa'mur ahlaka, but if there was no wow, you'd say mur ahlaka.
So the wow is not part of the verb. The wow means and on its
This
own.
wow is an and, yeah. The verb is amara. Okay. How would you say command me?
Muruni.
Murni.
Murni. Good. I used to find some shopkeepers in Damascus used to say that you go into the shop and they say, Murni, tell me what you want. Command. Your wish, my command. Murni. Mur wa'mur ahlaka bis salati wastabir alayha. What's going on here? What form is this?
افتعل.
Istabara. What's the root?
Sabara.
Sabara. Good. So what form is it?
Form 8. Change the ta
Form
to
8. Good. So what's this ta doing here then?
for
It's
ease.
changed because of the sad.
Yeah, when you have a sad here, the ta turns to a sa. Just like we have istafa. Remember that? Istafa yastafi. So here we have istabara yastabiru, which means to be very patient, to be persistent. Wastabir alayha. It's a command.
Sorry, Ustad, can you please explain what you said, that when there is a saw, then ta turns into a ta?
Yeah, remember in form 8, I showed you some anomalous verbs.
Yeah,
where we have-
iqtaraba. So there has to be a ta.
So in
Form
the form 8, there's usually a ta. I mean, where that ta is, there should be a ta, right?
Yeah.
But when this letter is heavy,
Oh,
the ta
okay.
turns to a ta. Like for example, from safawa, yeah, we had istafa with a ta, yastafi, to choose, yeah. So in form 8, whenever you have a sad here, or a dad actually also, it'll change to a ta, yeah. In fact, you gave me an example with a dad, didn't you? Idtaraba. Did you say that? Idtaraba. I thought I heard you say idtaraba.
Iqtaraba, I said, sorry, iqtaraba.
Oh, iqtaraba. Yeah, the qaf there is not heavy. If you have id from daraba, which means to strike, in form 8 you have idtaraba with a ta. اضطرب يضطرب فهو مضطرب. Okay.
Ustad, iqtaraba, the qaf is heavy, but the ta stays as ta.
Yeah, because there's no problem. اقترب. It's not difficult to pronounce the ta, but with the ba, try to go from the ba to a ta. Yeah, same with the sa. Istabara. It's difficult. All right. So we have for the sa and the ba, the ta is going to change to a ta. So you have wastabir and be patient عليها. لا نسألك رزقا. We don't ask you for rizq. نحن نرزقك. We provide for you. Okay. يا أيها الناس كلوا.
Eat.
Good. Eat. كلوا. Form
1
with an initial hamza, right? أكل يأكل, imperative كل. كلوا مما في الأرض حلالا طيبا. Eat from what is in the earth. حلالا طيبا ولا تتبعوا.
5
Is it?
Negative imperative.
Negative imperative, which form?
Form 8.
Two or 5?
Can't be form 2.
Then it's 5.
Okay, it's not 5.
Is it
If
form
it was
8?
5, it would
Is
be
it form
wala
8?
tatabba'u.
Form 8.
No, but it's got
The ta is doubled because there's actually a ta in the root, right?
It's because the bar's gone down. That's how you know it's 8.
Yes, exactly. Form 5 wouldn't go down. So good, well pointed out. And Maymun has pointed out that the 2 ta's, there's one ta. The first ta is the ta of the second person, like taf'alu. Yeah, the second ta is the ta of the first letter of the root. Then the third ta is the ta of form 8. So you've got 3 ta's in a row, and then the middle one and the third one assimilate. So you have ittaba'a yattabi'u. Yeah. So that happens when the first root letter is a ta. You're going to get in form 8 ittaba'a yattabi'u, to follow. From the root tabi'a, to follow. وَلَا تَتَّبِعُوا خُطُوَاتِ الشَّيْطَانِ. In fact, that might be worth adding to.
where we have iktashafa. So if you were to say la taktashifu, then don't. If you were to negativize the iktashafa, the form 8, the example we have.
لا تكتشفوا. Yeah, لا تكتشفوا. لا تتبعوا. Can you see the voweling is the same?
No.
Yeah. خطوات الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين. وإذ واعدنا. واعد.
وعد يعد.
There's an alif after the wa. It's not wa'ada, it's wa'ada.
3.
Form 3, good.
Yeah.
Form 3, wa'adna, which means to make an appointment. وَإِذْ وَعَدْنَا مُوسَى. We made an appointment with Musa, literally. 40 ليلة. For 40 nights. ثُمَّ اتَّخَذْتُمْ. اتَّخَذْتُمْ.
8. Form 8.
Form 8, good. We did this one, didn't we? Form 8, what's the root?
اتخذ يتخذ.
What's the root?
أخذ.
أخذ. Good, it's the Hamza. Remember the Hamza, instead of saying اتخذ, we turn the Hamza into a ta and say اتخذ. Yeah? اتخذ. ثم اتخذتم العجل, and then you took, or you adopted the ijl, the golden statue of the calf, من بعده وأنتم ظالمون. وإذ قال إبراهيم ربي أرني.
Form 1.
Which form?
Form 1 with the Hamza.
No, form 1 would be ara. Ara, I see. This is ari. The verb is just ari. And so if it spells at form 4, what's the verb then?
Ara yuri.
Good. Ara yuri, which means to make somebody see. Ara, remember form 2 and form 4 have causative meanings most of the time. So ara yuri means to make somebody see. So he's saying arini, show me. Arini, show me. Kaifa tuhyi.
أحيا.
Good. So here, kaifa tuhyi. There should be actually another ya here. Ahya yuhyi. Which form?
Form 4 again.
Good. Ahya yuhyi. What's the verbal noun?
إحياء.
Good. Ihya. Have you heard of a book called Ihya'u Ulumiddini? Ihya'u Ulumiddini, the revival of the sacred sciences. Heard that book by Al-Imam Al-Ghazali? Yeah. That's the verbal noun of ahya yuhyi. Ahya means to bring back to life, to give life. كيف تحيي الموتى? How you resurrect the dead. قال أولم تؤمن آمن يؤمن. Again, we've done that one. قال بلى ولكن ليطمئن قلبي. All right, so اطمأن is actually not a form 1 to 10 verb. I think it's form 11 or 12. So اطمأن. اطمأن.
Ustad, going back to arini, so that's show me, right? Like imperative. So how do you just say show? Like show.
Ari.
Ari. Okay.
And the ni means me. قال, he said, خذ, فخذ. What's the خذ?
Imperative of أخذ.
Imperative of أخذ, good. خذ أربعة من الطير. Take 4 of the birds. فصرهن. صر. What's صر?
Another imperative. صار.
Imperative of?
Is it صار?
Of Sara, which form?
1. Like kana.
Form 1, good. Form 1, hollow, right? Sara yasiru fasurhunna ilayka, and bring them to you. ثم اجعل على كل جبل منهن جزءا, and then make upon every mountain of them from them parts. So tear them apart and throw them on the mountains. ثم ادعو. ثم ادعو. ادعو.
Udu would be 4.
ادعو means call.
Form 1 imperative.
Form imperative of
دعا.
دعا يدعو, good. دعا يدعو ادعو. ادعو. Notice the wow is dropped, the weak letter drops in the imperative. You don't say ud'u. If you say ud'u, that's the plural. Ud'u, ud'i, ud'u, ud'ina. Yeah? So you say ud'u. Is it ud'ina or ud'una? I think it's ud'una for the feminine plural. So ثم ادعوهن, and then call them يأتينا. يأتينك. What's يأتينا? I've done this verb many times. Come on, guys. يأتي. أتى يأتي, form 1. But how many people are doing this verb? يأتينا.
More than 3 or more.
Of what gender?
Feminine plural.
Feminine plural.
Feminine plural. Good. So it's يأتي, and then it's يأتي, يأتينا, يأتونا, يأتينا. Okay. So the feminine singular, sorry, يأتي, تأتي, عفوا. Get mixed up with the second person. يأتي, تأتي, يأتونا, يأتينا. So the feminine plural is يأتينا. I've actually got tables of all of these conjugated. So you have يأتي, يأتيان, يأتون, تأتي, تأتيان, يأتينا. This is one يأتينا. Yeah. Then you have تأتي, تأتيان, تأتون, تأتينا, تأتيان, تأتينا, آتي, نأتي. That's the 14 conjugations of that verb.
أستاذ. عندي سؤال. Sorry. صار يصير. I've forgotten why would it go back to sur for the imperative with a dhamma?
It's like you're from قال يقول, you have قل.
But you've got يقول, you've still got a dhamma on the qaf with a waw. You're saying that صار يصير goes to sur, and I'm just confused as to why it goes back to a dhamma and not sir.
Maybe it's a different verb. Maybe it's صار صار يصور. Let me look it up. Hold on. Dictionary of the Qur'an. So it's saying Sara Yasuru means to divide, dissect. So it's not Sara Yasiru here, Sara Yasuru, to cut, to dissect or cut into bits. Yeah? From which you have Sawwara Yusawwiru. Yeah, so we have Sawwara Yusawwiru in form 2 from that root, as opposed to Sayyara Yusayyiru, which means to change something. So this root, this hollow verb actually has, well pointed out actually, this has there's two verbs here. One is sawara, sara yasuru, and the other is sara yasiru, which means to become, sara yasuru, which means to cut. Thumma fasurhunna ilayka means to cut them, to tear them apart. Okay, I've just learned something new today. I misunderstood that word. Can you see how you can misunderstand these things if you're not careful? Okay, here we have وَإِذْ قَالَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ رَبِّ أَرِنِي. Have we done this one? Here. وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ يَقُولُ أَذَنْ لِي. So أَذِنَ يَأْذَنُ means to permit. So they say وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ يَقُولُ أَذَنْ لِي. What's this verb? I just told you what it is. أَذِنَ يَأْذَنُ. You have the imperative إِذَن. يقول إذن لي ولا تفتني. فتن يفتن, form 1, very simple. ألا في الفتنة سقطوا. Is it not in fitna or in sedition that they have fallen? وإن جهنم لمحيطة بالكافرين. محيطة. محيطة. What is that?
أحاط يحيط.
Good. That's the verb, which means to surround. أحاط يحيط فهو محيط. And the muhit is something that surrounds you. So Jahannam surrounds the deniers. Muhit. We also use the word muhitun for the word for ocean. Al-muhit al-atlanti. I think that's what they call it. The Atlantic Ocean. Muhit.
Ustad, is it active participle or passive participle here?
Okay, so أحاط يحيط فهو محيط. أحيط يحاط فهو محاط. So is it active or passive?
Active.
Active, yes. Okay, فلما أن جاء البشير. جاء, we've done جاء before. ألقاه. ألقاه. ألقاه.
Form 4.
Yulqi.
Alqa, is it yalqi or yulqi?
Oh, yulqi.
Be careful. Form 4, you have a dhamma on the ya. Alqa yulqi. Alqa yulqi. Alqahu ala wajhihi. So this is Yaqub alayhi salam. So when the messenger came, he threw the Yusuf alayhi salam's cloak over him, over his face. Fartadda basiran. Fartadda. We did this verb. He reverted, he returned, basiran, being able to see. Qala alam aqul, he said. Qala is the verb, hollow verb. Alam aqul, notice with the lam, you drop the waw of the middle weak verb, or the hollow verb. So you don't say lam aqul, say lam aqul. Lam aqul. Okay, let's move on, try and get through all of these. فَإِنْ عُثِرَ عَلَىٰ أَنَّهُمَا اسْتَحَقَّا.
Form 10.
استحقا, form 10. استحق, استحقق, that's the root. حق, استحقا, form 10, doubled. إثما فآخران يقومان مقامهما. يقوم is a form 1 hollow. من الذين استحق عليهم الأوليان فيقسمان بالله لشهادتنا أحق من شهادتهما وما اعتدينا اعتدى يعتدي
8.
from 8 from what's the root عاد. It's either عدوى or عديا, right? So the root here is عدوى, which means عدو is an enemy. So اعتدى يعتدي means to transgress or to show enmity, to violate. اعتدى يعتدي means to violate, to show violence. Okay. فوسوس. Waswasa is a quadrilateral verb. Actually, I didn't take you through the quadrilateral verbs. You have quadrilateral verbs with the same voweling pattern as form 2. So you have tarjama yutarjimu, like allama yuallimu, tarjama yutarjimu, fahuwa mutarjimun, turjima yutarjamu, fahuwa mutarjamun, tarjamatun, tarjim la tutarjim. And the Quran has quite a few of these verbs where you have 4 letters. The first 2 are the same and then it's repeated. Waswasa. Waswasa means to whisper. Waswasa yuwaswisu fahuwa muwaswisun. Waswisa yuwaswasu fahuwa muwaswasun. Waswasatun or waswas. The verbal noun is 2 verbal nouns form for waswasatun or waswas. Min sharril waswasil khannas. Waswas. Actually, no, waswas, not the masdar. It's tarjamatun. It's fu'lanun. So you have barhana, for example. Barhana, yubarhinu, which means to give evidence. And the verb noun is burhan. Burhanun or barhanatun. Okay, so waswasa lahum ash-shaytanu. So shaitan whispered to them, this is our parents, Adam and Hawa. Liyubdiya. Liyubdiya. You can tell me what that is.
Bada'a.
Yubdi is the verb. What's the perfect?
Bada. Oh.
What form? If you see yubdi, what form is it?
Must be 4.
Form 4.
Good. So what would the perfect be? If I say yu'ti, what's the perfect of yu'ti?
Would it be abda?
Good, it's abda. So from yu'ti, it was a'ta. So from yubdi, it must be abda. Abda yubdi, which means to make visible, make appear. Form 1 is bada yabdu, to appear. Yeah, yabdu, it appears. So abda yubdi, to make something appear. Liyubdiya lahuma ma wuriya. Nice one. Wuriya. What do you think that is?
Is that a passive verb?
It is. Which form?
Form 1.
Form 1 would be wuriya, not wuriya.
Has to be
Form 3.
Or again.
Form 3. The one we did was nada yunadi, nudiya yunada. Yeah, so this is wara yuwari, wuriya yuwara. Okay, so wara yuwari means to hide. So wuriya, what was hidden, anhuma, from them, to make appear to them what was hidden from them. Min sawatihima. وقال ما نهاكما نها.
Form 1.
Naha. Form 1. Good. So now you can't really tell if the alif is an alif mamduda or an alif maqsura, isn't it? So it could be naha yanhu, naha yanhi, naha yanha. It can't be nahiya yanha, right? So it could be type 1, type 2, or type 3. So you don't know until you look it up. So you'd write naha wa or nahaya into your hands where, and then you'll see that it's naha yanha. So it's like aba ya ba. Yeah, in fact, this verb might be better example than aba, isn't it? Naha yanha. I'll change it to yanha. Okay, so you have naha yanha. Right, let's move on. فإنهم لآكلون لآكلون آكلون. If you were to write that without the lam, so in ordinary writing, you'd say la akiluna. Remember, you get the mad. So instead of saying la, the way it's written in the Quran is they put a little hamza in there and then an alif. See that? Yeah. In ordinary writing, you don't do that. You write the lam and then you put a squiggle on the alif, indicate the mad. Okay, so that's what's being indicated here. But the orthography of the Quran is different. Okay. Somebody's had a question? Okay. Yas'alunaka, simple form 1. Yas'alunaka, they ask you. Mada uhilla lahum. Uhilla.
Passive.
Passive form. Form. Form what?
Form 4 doubled.
Good. It's like ahabba yuhibbu. Yeah. And when you see uhibba, uhibba means it was loved or he was loved. Uhilla, it was made halal. Yeah. Mada uhilla lahum. What was made halal for them? Qul uhilla lakum. It is made halal for you what? At-tayyibatu. Wa ma 'allamtum. 'Allama. Form?
True.
Good. From tu'allamtum min al-jawarihi mukallibina. Mukallib. What do you think that means? Guess. First recognize what the word is, what form.
Is it kallaba yukallibu?
Good. Kallaba yukallibu fahuwa
Mukallibun.
mukallibun. Good. So mukallib is the person who does the action of kallaba yukallibu. Can you guess what kallaba yukallibu might mean? What does kalb mean?
Heart?
Dog.
Oh,
Yes. Kalb means dog.
yeah.
So kallaba yukallibu means to train a dog. So the mukallib is the dog trainer. Did you think that the word dog trainer is in the Quran?
No.
No? Okay. So what Allah is talking about here is you teach animals of prey. So you teach animals of prey, mukallibina, teaching them, as in using dogs to do your hunting for you. Yeah. Tu'allimunahunna, you teach them mimma 'allamakumullah, from what Allah has taught you. So this is talking about hunting using animals, trained animals, which normally if an animal kills another animal, if an animal of prey kills another animal, then it becomes haram, right? And so there's a big discussion in fiqh about this verse and what this means. What happens if if the dog you're using to hunt actually kill the animal before you're able to slaughter it? Is it still halal or not based on this verse? Okay. Fakulu, so eat, mimma amsakna. Amsakna.
Form 4.
Oh.
Good. And it's Allah is using the feminine plural here, even though they're animals. Yeah. Hunna, saying hunna. This is a kind of personification. Hunna amsakna, which they grasp. So what the animal has caught, eat of it. وَاذْكُرُوا اسْمَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ, and mention the name of Allah upon it. وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهِ. We did this verb, didn't we? اتَّقَى يَتَّقِي. And the imperative from that was just qi, wasn't it? So from the form 1, from waqa, you had imperative qi, protect. So what form is that one then? Ittaqa, yattaqi.
8.
Form 8, good. Ittaqa, yattaqi. Next one. وَمَنْ جَاهَدَ.
3.
Good. Form 3. جاهد يجاهد. جاهد يجاهد. They're both there. جاهد فإنما يجاهد لنفسه. Whoever strives only for himself. وجاهدوا.
In the imperative form. Form 3.
Good. Imperative. جاهد. في الله حق جهاده. What's jihad?
Verbal noun.
Verbal noun.
Verbal noun. Good. اجتباكم. اجتبا.
8.
Form 8 iktashaf.
8. Good. And weak.
Lots of Form 8
اجتبى
verbs.
يجتبي.
There's lots of Form 8 verbs in the Quran, seemingly.
نعم. اجتبى يجتبي وما جعل عليكم في الدين من حرج. سمى. سمى.
2.
Good. سمى يسمي means to give something a name. سمى يسمي. أقيموا.
Is it just 1?
Come on, guys.
Is it 1?
إقامة يقيم.
أقام يقيم. Form
4.
4. Good. Verbal noun إقامة. Remember that? أقام يقيم. أراد يريد. It's like أراد يريد.
But
إرادة.
this is
أقام
أقيم.
يقيم.
This is down. Aqama was up, right? So
Oh,
the
but
ya
that's
came
imperative.
back.
So, the ya came back because it's a plural. So if you didn't have the plural, you just say aqim. Yeah. So for arada yuridu, you have فهو مريد. أريد يراد فهو مراد. Verbal noun. إرادة. Imperative. أرد لا ترد. أقم لا تقم. That make sense? But the ya comes back when you make it plural, because you only took the ya off because you wanted to put a sukun here. Aqim. But when you put a dhamma back on, then the ya comes back. So you'd say, for example, with kun, if I say kun, that's singular, but for a feminine, it's kuni. The wa comes back, right? Kunu. The wa comes back. So in the hollow verb, look back at what I've given you, you'll see that those weak letters come back in the feminine imperative and the plural imperative. Okay, so we have فَأَقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَآتُوا. We did this verb earlier, آتَى يُؤْتِي, which means form 4, to give. وَاعْتَصِمُوا.
8.
Form 8, good. From root, عَاصَمَ. Yeah, عاصمة. What does this mean?
Is it the center or capital?
اعتصموا means to hold fast. Yeah. واتبعوا. اتبع يتبع. We did this verb earlier. تبع means to follow. Form 8, اتبع. أنزل.
4.
Form 4, what?
Passive. Passive.
Form 4, passive, good. And then here you have form 5, يتعلمون. Form 5, يفرقون. Form 2, ضار. وما هم بضارين. What's this?
Is that a form?
ضار.
Is that a form 3 with a doubled ending?
It's not a verb. Clue. It's not a verb at all.
An active participle, right?
Of what?
Dara. I don't know.
Oh, ضر. ضر. Remember we had مر يمر فهو مار. Yeah. In the form 1, instead of saying مارر, we just double the ra. So you say مار. So here you have ضر يضر فهو ضار. ضار is the person who causes harm. ضل يضل فهو ضال غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. ضال is the active participle of the double form 1 verb, ضَلَّ يَضِلُّ. ضَارٌ is active participle of form 1 doubled. Of this verb here, يَضُرُّ. Yeah, اشتراه, اشترى, اشترى.
For mate.
يشتري, for mate week. اشترى, يشتري. شروا.
Form 1.
شروا. Form 1, good. شرى, يشري. شرى, يشري. Form 1, type 2, like جرى, يجري. Shara, sharaya, sharau. Sharau also means to buy. Ishtara and shara means to buy. Tawasaw. إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا. Work it out.
Command.
Form.
Form 6.
تفاهم. Form 6. Form 6. تواصى, يتواصى. To command each other, to enjoin between yourselves. وتواصوا بالحق, and enjoin truth between you. وتواصوا بالصبر, enjoin patience between you. تواصى is the verb. استوقد.
10.
10. Good. أضاء.
Is it a verb?
Yes, the verb.
4.
Form 4. Good. Form 4. What type?
Hello? I don't know.
Oh, good. The moment you see this alif here, it's أضاء يضيء. Like أراد يريد, right? أضاء sounds like أراد. So that's why if you learn one example of each, then everything else just fits into the pattern. You just do analogy. So أضاء يضيء فهو مضيء. أضيء يضاء فهو مضاء. Double noun. إضاءة, like إرادة. إضاءة.
So is there a pattern to get from, say, the imperfect or the perfect to the imperative?
Yes, so if you learn the imperative of أراد يريد, you learn it's arid. Here you say it's أضئ. أضئ.
I mean, like in general, because we've been learning how to go from perfect to imperfect and perfect to perfect from like beginning from level 1. So just wondering if there's a way that if you know those two, can you calculate the imperative?
No, you need to learn the pattern.
You have to learn it. Okay.
Yeah, learn the pattern. So learn that whole thing. Learn the whole thing. Don't try to work this. That's what I'm saying. Don't try to work these things out. Don't think yourself into this. Just learn them. Right. So when you learn them, learn the whole row. So you say, right, I'm going to do that one today. Just do the whole row, and just.
I think because you know how to conjugate imperative, like we know it horizontally and vertically. Like not, I'm sorry, perfect and imperfect. We know them really well. We know how to conjugate them. But I feel like with imperative, I don't know how to do that. So probably need to expand it out.
Yeah. 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 I would just learn the whole thing. So you say كتب يكتب فهو كاتب. That's the active. كتب يكتب فهو مكتوب. That's the passive. Then do the verbal noun. كتابة. Imperative. اكتب لا تكتب. Just do that for all of them. Yeah. يبصرون.
Form 4. Form 4, plural.
What's the verb?
Third person. Asara.
Good. Absara yubsiru. Good. Absara yubsiru means to see, be able to see. La yubsirun, they don't see. Waqila. Qila.
قال يقول. قيل is the passive.
of the perfect. Yeah. قيل يقال من راق. What's this?
Hollow active participle
Of
form 1. Not sure.
Yeah, weak. The weak verbs always have these active participles like this. Yeah. So raqa yarqi, yeah, is the verb, and raqin is the person who cures, who does ruqya, right? Call him raqi. Raqin. Waqila man raqa, and it is said, who will cure? Who will cure? Who is the one who's will come and cure? Someone. يوم نقول لجهنم هل امتلأت.
8.
Good. Form 8. امتلأ يمتلئ, to become full. هل امتلأت. Today we say to Jahannam, are you full? وتقول هل من مزيد, and she says, is there more? Terrifying. هل من مزيد. يأتيهم, أي يأتيهم, is this one. أتى يأتي, form 1, weak. وهم نائمون.
نام ينام.
نام ينام فهو نائم. It's the اسم الفاعل, that's the active participle of form 1, hollow. نام ينام. Alright, seeing these ones seem to be coming twice. قل.
Imperfect. Imperative.
Imperative of form 1, hollow. قال يقول. قل. لم يلد.
Imperative. Again, same form 1.
ولد يلد.
Imperative.
Yes.
ولد يلد. Good. So it's form 1, initial weak. There's a wa beginning, which it doesn't appear in the imperfect. لم يلد. ولم يولد. يولد is passive. So wulida, he was born. Yuladu, he is born. It's the passive imperfect. فانطلقا.
ينطلق ينطلق form 7.
Yes, exactly. انطلق form 7. It's a rare one. Form 7s are not common. انطلق from the root طلق, to be released. To release. So انطلق means to release or to set off. This verb actually means to set off on a journey. فانطلق, and so they set off. حتى إذا, and the إذا here is used for like a surprise, called إذا الفجائية. Whereupon, you translate says, until, whereupon, ataya. Ata is the verb. When it's a dual, you say ataya. Ataya ahla qaryatin. They came to the people of a village. Istaf'ama.
10.
Form 10. Good. So istaf'ama means to ask for food. Istaf'ama ahlaha. They sought food from its people. Fa'abaw. We did this verb. Abaw.
They refused.
They refused. Good. Abaw. أي يضيفوهما. ضيفا. Form 2. Good. ضيف يضيف means to treat somebody like a guest, to be a host. They refused to host them. فوجد, this wow is initial weak. فيها جدارا, they found in it a wall. يريد, form 4 hollow. أراد يريد. And ينقض.
Form 7.
Form 7.
Doubled.
Good. From qadda, from qaf and ba. So they found in it a wall wanting to fall. Can a wall want to fall?
No, but it meant that it was about to fall.
Yes, this is a personification. Okay, so the wall doesn't have a will, but this is a rhetorical device used to indicate how imminently that wall is about to fall. Yeah, so you give the wall a will to indicate its imminent collapse. يريد أن ينقض فأقامه.
Form 4.
Form 4. أقام يقيم. Good. أقام يقيم also means to make something stand up. So he stood it up again. He rebuilt it. فأقامه. قال لو شئت.
Form 1.
Form 1. Hollow. شاء يشاء. شئت means to win, to want, or will. لو شئت لاتخذت. اتخذ, we did this one, to take. عليه أجرا. Okay. نستعين.
10.
10. What type?
Weak.
What type of weak?
There's a ya there.
Yeah, in there.
No, but there's a noon as well. The noon is part of the verb.
Oh.
Yeah. So look, you've got the ista for the form 10. That's the beginning. So the root must be ayana, right?
Rana, yastarinu.
Middle week.
Ista'ana
So it's hollow.
yasta'inu. Form 10 hollow from awana. The root is awana. Aun means help. So ista'ana yasta'inu means to seek help. Yeah. Iyaka nasta'inu. Ihdi. Ihdi.
Hada yahdi.
Hada yahdi. Good. Form 1, weak. Right? Why do we lose the ya here?
I think just to make it shorter because it would be harder to say ihdina.
It's command.
Oh, it's a command.
Yeah, in the imperatives of the weak, remember we lose the weak letter?
Yeah.
You have to drop the weak letter. Yeah. So just like instead of saying qi for protect, we drop the weak letter and say qi, just qi. Yeah. So we say ihdina. To make it feminine, you say ihdi. So if you said ihdina, that means you're speaking to a woman. Ihdina as-siratal mustaqim.
Istaqama yastaqimu. Istiqaman mustaqimun. Form 10.
Istaqama yastaqimu fahuwa mustaqimun. Good. So what is mustaqim?
Active participle.
Active participle of form
10.
Form 10.
and form 10 what?
Weak. Hollow.
Hollow. Good. Form 10. Good. All right. Look, you'll get the hang of this. This takes a bit of time. All right. Okay. So I think it's 9:45 now, so we're going to stop. There's a few slides left, but we've got the whole Qur'an to work through as well. So we don't need to carry. We could go on all night. So, Jazakumullah khairan. Any questions before we close for the day? No? Is anybody who's feeling overwhelmed with this? Because that's not the intention.
Yes, to be honest, I am.
Yeah, okay.
Definitely.
Okay,
But
so
it's
yeah.
definitely, it's good to know where we are at, because sometimes it feels like, oh yeah, we know everything. And then you see this and you're like, no, you don't know anything. Just be quiet.
Okay, so inducing humility, that's good. The other thing is, it will build over time. So as you come across verbs, something will click. Say, I saw that. Then you'll open up that as a reference, and you'll find it, and then you'll drop little anchors in different places over weeks and months, and over time it will come up. It will come up at you, right? So please don't try to memorize all of this in one go. Those of you who are good at table learning, any good table learners who just can churn and learn all of this. Anybody who can do that?
I think it's like when we had the 10 verbal form sheet that I, mashallah, memorized all of it. If we had these all on one sheet, then we can start memorizing them. There are on so many sheets now.
I could put these on one sheet, but then they'd be quite small, and I wouldn't be able to put the whole thing. So I could put them all on one sheet, but just the perfect, imperfect, and the verbal noun, and maybe the imperatives. You see, you wouldn't have the passive. We could cut out the passive and have perfect, imperfect, verbal noun, imperative. Would that work?
Yeah.
So you cut out the active participle, you cut out the passive and the passive participle. If you want to have it on an A4 sheet, you've got to cut something out.
Yeah, just to be able to memorize stuff.
Yeah, I think in addition to that, what would be useful for me is, because there's so many new words here, I would rather apply the words that I know, the vocab that I know, the verbs that I know into these tables rather than trying to learn new words.
I agree.
And that's where I'm getting quite overwhelmed, to be honest. I don't have a memory for learning too much vocab in a week. I have a set amount my brain can cope with, to be honest. And that's what's thrown me, that if I learn this table, I don't want to be learning new words when I haven't really mastered the old words in these forms.
All right, good. Let's do a brainstorm then. Let's pick up all the words that we've done so far in levels 1 to 6 that we can map into these tables. So give me words that you know. Let's spend 5 minutes doing that. Off you go.
What do you mean, other than the ones? Oh, sorry. Are you talking about the weak verbs that we know?
Anything, any verb forms that are weak or.
Well, I think the regular ones from 1 to 10. That's quite straightforward, because I think we've used that quite a lot. It's
so
just
let's find some weak ones then.
Yeah.
Weak ones or doubled. I'tani, good. I'tani.
And da'ni.
Huh?
I can't figure out what da'ni is.
Forget da'ni, it's anomalous. So we've got i'tani. So what's the verb?
I'tana.
What's the verb?
I'tana,
i'tani. Good. So let's find it. Let's find i'tana, i'tani. Let me share the thing again. Okay. So we're going to find i'tana, i'tani. It's going to be weak, form 8, right? So what you do is you go, so we've gone too far up. Hold on. That's hollow. And then you're going to go to here we are. Yeah, this one. This is i'tana, i'tani. Right, so this is exactly what Naima is saying she's going to do. She's going to take i'tana, i'tani, and she's going to drop an anchor here on the page. She's going to say irtada, irtadi. Instead of irtada, I could have just said, do you think that would actually be better for you? I'tana, like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, how did you quickly know that it was a hollow verb? I just literally wouldn't have known that.
It's not hollow, it's weak. It's weak.
I mean,
because of this thing here.
Oh, okay.
Because of that there. I'tana, i'tani. And look, you've got i'tani here. I'tani. You see? So it's like irtadi. There's no ya on the imperative. So I'm going to change this one to help you. Instead of saying irtada, irtadi, it might just make sense to say i'tani, and then you'll recognize it.
Yeah.
Would that be better?
Yes, please. Yeah, that would be definitely for me.
Okay. So what we could do is think about, all of you guys, think about the weak verbs or the hollow verbs or double verbs that we've done so far. We've done others, like, for example, نستعد الآن للإقلاع, right? So استعد يستعد, what's that? You can tell from the ista, that is the form 10, and you can see ista'adda, there's a double da at the end, so it must be a form 10.
Doubled,
good. So let's go up to where that is. Let me just highlight this. I remember to change this. Yeah, and then we're going to go up to doubled. It's hollow. Let's go back up to doubled. There we are. No, those are the initial weeks. There. Istahaqqa. So do you think ista'adda would be better for you here?
Yeah.
Yes. So, you said in the Quran they have more passive verbs, right? Rather than.
They have?
and the verbs are more passive verbs. So if we don't know them, if you took them out of the table, then we would struggle with the Quran, right?
So I don't think I've understood your question. Can you say it again?
In the Quran, to be able to understand it, we would need to know the passive verbs, right?
If you want to understand the passive usages, yes, of course.
Okay. I was just wondering, like, if you're going to take it out, would it be easier to keep them in so that we study
No, we
that?
can keep them in here, but some people want to see, I've done this in landscape, because otherwise if I squash this whole frame into an A4 portrait, and the writing would become very small and it'd be difficult to see. So what we could do is, just so people can learn just the verb and the perfect and the imperfect, you could just put the perfect and imperfect and have like just 5 sheets, right? And that just gives you a map of all the verb forms with the perfect, imperfect. Then what you do is you use that as a backbone, and then you start hooking on the active participles onto them. And then you use that as a skeleton to hook on the verbal nouns. Do you see? So it's a learning technique where you start off with the backbone and then you build out. That's a very good way of learning, because to try and learn all of these all at the same time can be too much. So those people who'd like to do it like that, they want the 5 types on 5 A4 sheets. It's just easier to map as well mentally. All right, I totally understand why they want that. So if you want to do that, what I would do is I would maybe take out the passives. Okay, could keep the perfect, imperfect, active participle, passive participle, verbal noun, and do the imperatives later.
Yes, so we can have irtada, yartaddu, fahuwa murtadun, irtidadun. So
Yeah, that's right. Irtadda, yartaddu, murtaddun, irtidadun, and that's it. So you'd have only 4 words in the beginning for each verb form. And that would be much easier to manage for a lot of people. So I'm going to take your feedback on that, and I'll create these again on A4 portrait sizes, and then you just have 5 sheets, and it will be easy to start that off as your sort of baby walker. And then once you've done that, then you can move on to this. All right?
yeah, inshallah. Then we can add more, you see, going forward, inshallah.
Yeah, and what you could then do is you could even add them with your hand. So you still keep your backbone sheets and then add them with your hand. And then you create your own visual map because you recognize where you've written with your own hand in a different color. Yeah, so whatever works for you.
So, Ustad, where we've got masha, that's a weak, right? That's a weak verb. Masha.
That's right.
Mashaitu.
So let's go.
I'm just struggling to know where would I put that. I mean, I know that it's a weak verb, but there's so many bits to it now.
Look, here we are. So this is weak. We go to the first week. It's clearly form 1, and you got masha, right? So masha sounds like da'a or jara or aba, right? So it's going to be one of these. Okay, and then so you need to know the imperfect to know which one you're going to fit in. So I'll tell you it's masha yamshi. So it's like jara yajri.
Oh, okay. Okay, so we go. The verbs that we know, we go to the table, see what it sounds like, and then obviously see what the imperative is like.
Yeah. Would you prefer masha here?
No, it doesn't. There's lots that I know, but I prefer, because I know ran. We know ran, so that's fine. I mean, I'll just like Naz said, just add some columns
so and as well, didn't we? So,
yeah, we have done
We've
that.
done that as well, yeah.
Yeah, but I'll just add columns to rows as we go along.
Okay, all right. So if you feel there's any other verb that we've done that would work in these tables better for you, just let me know, and I'll change them. Because there's no reason. I mean, we don't. The purpose of this isn't to learn new vocab. The only reason why I've used actual words rather than, like, I could have done if'alla yaf'allu fahuwa muf'allun, istaf'ala istafalla yastafillu fahuwa mustafillun, and then you just get falla all over your head, right? It would be really confusing. So it's better to differentiate by using actual words which have actual meaning, in my view. Some people learn all using just the roots fa'ala, which I don't think is really a useful exercise. Okay, let's stop for the day. It's almost 9 o'clock. Finish off with a dua. قولوا معي سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. وجزاكم الله خيرا والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.